So things are looking a little different around here now. I have a newborn and she's sleeping on my chest as I record this. And that was her sighing. Hi, I'm Yasmin. If you're new here, welcome. Come join me as I try to figure out this first time mom life with a newborn thing. Time has moved differently. It's almost as if time has slowed down and sped up all at the same time. She's been here for a few weeks now, and for the first few weeks it really felt like 4 weeks was equivalent to 4 days. Everything revolved around just feeding, changing diapers, sleeping, and just trying to recuperate. I unfortunately ended up having to have a C-section. I will go into my birth story in another video one of these days. It was really hard not being able to just get back into things, and I had to wait weeks to start feeling better. I really struggled with my recovery, and it wasn't until recently that I've been able to get around to doing more. Now that I am doing things around the house more, it's been kind of a little hectic. I'm prioritizing her, and she loves a good cuddle, she loves to breastfeed, and she loves to sleep on me. So don't have that much time between feeding and diaper changes to get around to doing much. So everything that I'm doing is in little chunks of time, but I have felt that I'm becoming way more productive when I have 10 minutes where she is settled on her own. I feel like I can get a lot more done than before I ever had a kid. I've been really lucky to have my mom and other family and friends around who have been able to come by and help, because in the beginning I really could not do much. I was in a lot of pain, and my husband was able to also take some time off, so that was also lovely. But now that he's back at work and I'm feeling better, I'm trying to get things done around the house. We got so many beautiful flowers from our friends, so we've had flowers for like 4 weeks now. So I've been trying to just trim them and just keep them going as long as possible so that we can have fresh flowers in the house a little longer. Right after we had her, I didn't have to cook for a few weeks, which was very nice. Thank you to all of my lovely friends and family who dropped off food, and my mom would always be cooking for us as well, so that was very helpful, because I just could not do much at all because of my pain. And I missed cooking because I love cooking, and it was kind of strange in a way to have to rely on people and have to accept so much help. But I put my pride aside, and I was very glad to get all that help, because it really does take community to support women postpartum, for them to feel loved and well cared for, so that they're able to properly care for their baby. And I know how lucky and blessed I was to have that kind of support, because I know a lot of women just simply don't have that. We are very lucky to live with our family in the same building, so that we always have family close by, and it's been really nice having that support. I can't even imagine having to go through those first few weeks without any support. In saying that, I am very happy to be more capable again, and to be able to start doing the things I love, because I love cooking, I love homemaking, and I did miss that. My lovely husband did the groceries while I wasn't able to drive and do them myself, and he did a fine job. But for this week I decided to get a HelloFresh food box, just to keep things a little bit simpler and have all the ingredients for the week for dinners, just so he didn't have to buy the whole week's worth of food. And can we take a moment to talk about how amazing our bodies are? It feels so good to not be in constant pain anymore, and to start to feel like myself again, because feeling pain constantly is so rough, obviously physically, but also mentally, especially in those first few days and weeks with a newborn where it's already so challenging and everything is so new and different. And also having those physical things going on made it really challenging. So if you're someone who had a difficult labor or difficult recovery, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. The box that I ordered, I only selected meals for 2 people, but I wanted to stretch the specific one to 4 portions so that we had leftovers the next day for lunch. So this was a chicken curry, and I just looked at the recipe and basically doubled everything up with what I had at home. So I added a little bit more chicken, I seasoned it. I did tweak the recipe quite a bit, to be honest, and that's just how I roll. I just end up doing things my way a lot of the time. I'll find a recipe that I like, but I know that I like some things done a specific way, so I'll just tweak it. So for example, the recipe did not ask to marinate the chicken, but I did. I added some yogurt, some extra spices, some of my homemade garlic paste, and it just adds a lot more flavor. I like to be very, very flexible in the kitchen. A lot of the time I'll find a recipe that I want to make and I might not have all of the ingredients, but I'll look through my fridge and see what I have, and I'll just swap some things just to make it work that way. And I know what ingredients work well, what swaps I can make that won't alter the taste too much and will still give me something nice. And I think this really just comes with practice. The more you do, the more you know. And I've been cooking since I was a little girl. I've always loved cooking. If you're new to cooking, you're recently married, or you just moved out and you're living by yourself, whatever your situation is, if you're new to cooking, don't be scared to experiment and make mistakes. Finding a recipe is always a good place to start. But if you don't have a certain ingredient, just Google what's a good substitute and try that, and slowly you'll become more comfortable in the kitchen and you'll start to make swaps without even thinking twice about it. One of the reasons I like to get these boxes once in a while when life's really busy is because sometimes I'll send some different ingredient that I'm not really used to working with, or there'll be a little something different, like putting a little bit of vinegar in a stew or something that I wouldn't do, but it really helps enhance the flavor. And then I bring those things into my everyday cooking to just incorporate some different techniques, different flavors. And to be completely honest, I love cooking, but when you're cooking every single day, sometimes you lose inspiration. So once in a while, it's nice to get to just make these recipes that someone else planned out, and you can still be flexible and creative with them and switch some things up like I'm doing here. But it does inspire me for future meals, and some days you just need a little inspiration. So after getting a little bit of color on my chicken, I'm adding my onions and the ginger and my garlic paste. Let me know if you guys are interested in knowing how to make this garlic paste. I've been making it for a few months now, and it's been so helpful. It's a mixture of cilantro, parsley, green onions, garlic, a little bit of olive oil and salt. And I blend it all together, keep some in the fridge, and the extra I keep in the freezer until I run out. And it's been so helpful to just have this garlic paste ready to go. I use it in absolutely everything every day, and it really saves me time not having to peel garlic and crush or dice, and especially now with a newborn, highly recommend. So I wanted to make sure my chicken and my curry was going to have enough flavor, so I added a bunch of spices. I find that having a really well-stocked spice drawer makes it so easy to just come up with different meals on the go So here I added some cumin, coriander, garam masala, and turmeric. Then I also added the garlic salt that came with the recipe box and just stirred everything together to just get all the spices toasted to release a bit more flavor. For the veggies, I also added some green peppers that I had in the fridge that wasn't originally a part of the recipe, but this is the kind of thing I'm talking about where you can just be flexible and customize and use what you have on hand. So at this point, I added the curry paste that came in the box, and there was also a tikka masala sauce. So because the ingredients were only for 2 portions, I made sure that I had all those spices in there already to ensure that it was going to be a very flavorful curry. So you can use store-bought, you can make it yourself. Flexibility is key. You might realize once you're making something that you've run out and you just gotta be flexible and customize. As you see here, I just added a little bit of diced tomatoes I had left from taco night. Again, not in the recipe, but I always like to add tomatoes to my curries. And since I had this in the fridge and it had to be used up, I added that. I also added some extra spice. This is a hot sauce from a Tibetan place near us. So just adding a little spoon of that to add some extra heat. The recipe did call for some roasted potatoes. In the instructions it said to make it in the oven, but I made it in my air fryer because I find that it does it so well and so quickly. I also had some cilantro in the fridge that had to be used up, so I diced that up, and the recipe sent some spinach, which was a very small amount since it was only for 2 people. So it was more like a garnish at the end of the days, but I diced that up as well to go in with my cilantro at the end. I wanted to make the sauce a little creamy, so one of my favorite ways of doing that is soaking some cashews, some raw unsalted cashews in hot water for about 10 minutes, and then I blended with some cold water until completely smooth. I love my Vitamix for this. If you don't have a Vitamix, just make sure you're blending it for a little while to get it as smooth as possible. My rice is perfectly cooked. I always cook my rice in the Instant Pot. It's 4 minutes on high. It's equal parts rice and water, and then 10 minutes natural release. I did add a few cumin seeds here because it just enhances the flavor and it makes it taste more like Indian rice. So I like to fluff it with a fork and just makes it a little easier to serve. Since I was cooking on my largest cast iron skillet, I didn't have a lid that was big enough to cover it, so I just used the pizza tray to just cover it to let it cook evenly. So now that my potatoes were done, I just added that to the curry. All the other veggies are tender and ready at this point. I always like to add my greens at the end, especially my herbs. I just find that it keeps it more flavorful and it doesn't overcook and just makes it a little more fresh. At the end here, I'm adding my cream sauce, which is the cashews and water that I blended. So as you can see, it's pretty thin because it does thicken up pretty quickly. So as you start stirring it, you'll notice it starts to bubble and thicken really quickly. So you have to just watch it, and you can always add a little bit more water like I'm doing here if it starts to thicken a little bit too much. But it makes a great plant-based thickener and cream for all kinds of recipes. I love adding it to pasta as well. It's really good. Spicy. So this recipe is a recipe that took a little bit longer to make. It had a few steps to it. My husband was home, so he was able to stay with the baby. And then my mom, who lives in the same building, did take her for a little while as well. So I was able to get everything finished, and we were actually able to sit down together and watch a little bit of TV. And by TV, I mean computer, because we actually got rid of our TV. We never really tended to use it much for some reason. We always ended up watching things on the computer. And now that we had a baby coming, we decided to just get rid of the TV in the living room altogether.
Yes, sir. Well, Sheldon,
So we got to enjoy a little bit of the show we're currently watching, and then my mom brought her up and she was ready to be fed. So that's what we did after dinner. So this is all for today. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next time.